If we're going to go where our buyers are, what do we do once we're there? This is the Everyday VOpreneur Summer Series, where I am giving voice actors an opportunity to come onto the show and ask one of their most pressing business and marketing questions. Because the idea is, if they're thinking it, somebody else who is listening to this show right now is probably thinking it too. So welcome to the show, Cameron Pfister. Tell me about your question.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. My question comes about because I was the kind of person who I'm very introverted, and I thought I would hate any kind of in-person anything. Yeah, exactly. That's why I relate to you so much. But through a very sweet coach of mine encouraged me to go to the WOVO Unconference last year, and I got over my fear and I did it. And I found that I actually love the experience of meeting people in person, making those connections, networking, and just experiencing that face-to-face experience. And I paired that with one of my favorite pieces of advice I've gotten from your podcast and the playbook, which was to go to conferences and conventions that are not for VO.
Yeah.
Because that's where your clients are going to be. And
Yes.
it was like such a light bulb for me. But my question now is, what would be a good strategy to market myself when I'm at those in-person conferences and I'm making these connections? How do I work in the solution that I have for them? And how do I just basically market myself at like a medical conference or a labor union trade show or any of the other e-learning conferences?
So first and foremost, I love that you're doing this, because I don't think we do it enough. I think we do WOVO, we do MAVO, One Voice, VO Atlanta, and those are amazing conferences and amazing experiences, and I've been doing them for a decade, and I learn something new every time I go. But the reality is, it's probably not where you're going to get hired. I mean, yes, you might make a connection with a casting director or an agent or something like that, but the idea of going where your buyers are, I think, is something that we often overlook. I had somebody in my mastermind who's in my mastermind this year who just recently went to a political conference. All the people who are making decisions about ad campaigns and all of that sort of stuff. She was the only voice actor there.
Yeah.
Like, hello, I want to be in that room, right? If I'm doing political, I want to be in that room. And I think that's something that happens as a result of going to these conferences, because most voice actors are not doing it. So you can end up being the only one in the room, which makes you like the unicorn at the
Yeah.
conference, right? And so I think it's really cool that you're doing this. So first and foremost, I want to acknowledge you for that. So how do we market ourselves when they're there? This is a really good question. And I think there's a few strategies that come to mind when you ask me that. So off the top of my head, the first thing I'm thinking is, well, you said, how do I show them that I can be the solution to their problem? How do we find out what their problem is?
Mm.
We get them to talk.
Yeah. Talk about themselves.
Right? What's everybody's favorite subject to talk about is talk about themselves. And so
Yep.
if we can get them to start talking and tell us about the business, then it's no different in that regard from how I would do email marketing or how I would do LinkedIn, for example, right? My strategy on LinkedIn is get them to tell me a little bit about the business. And as they're telling me about the business, I can look for an in where I can say, well, it's really cool that you do that. I might be able to help you. And here's how. And so that would be the one thing that I would be thinking about right off the bat, is if you can get them to tell you a little bit more about their business, that in and of itself may open the door for you to demonstrate how you could be a partner or a collaborator. So that would be the first thing that I would be thinking about. The second thing that I would be thinking about, and this probably depends a little bit more on the type of conference that you're going to, but sometimes they don't even know that they need you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you go into a conference that's filled with video producers are working with voice actors on a regular basis. They know that whole thing. But if you're directly in the room at a medical conference, they might not even fully understand how the process works, because maybe they just hire it out to an agency or hire it out to a production company or something like that. And so one of the other things that I think you have going in your favor is helping them to understand where they could even use you in the first place. So really practical examples of what that looks like. When you go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting and you're the only voice actor in the room full of small business owners, chances are they've never thought about hiring someone to do their phone system.
Mm-hmm.
If they're doing radio or TV advertising, chances are particularly with radio, when they buy a package of an advertising package from the radio station, it just comes with a commercial,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Somebody at the radio station is voicing it. Except that nowadays you got 3 people working in the radio station, which means that it's the same 3 people that are voicing all of those commercials. But they've probably never thought about the fact that, I could have an outside voice, a third-party voice, do that and still run that commercial on the radio station. So helping them to see those things. Have you ever thought about using a voice for your phone system? Have you ever thought about an outside voice for your radio commercials? Are they doing video content for social media? Have you ever thought about putting video content into your social media? Do they have a video on their website that talks about their business or their product or their service or their brand? Have you ever thought about adding a professional narration to that? So part of our job is helping them see how we can help them. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Another thing that I think is giving them some memorable swag.
That was my next question, actually.
I think memorable swag is something that is often overlooked. Okay, look, I'm doing this podcast right now. I'm a fidgeter, right?
Yeah.
So for anybody watching on YouTube, this is a voiceover network. It's a pop socket. Like I'm a fidgeter. I am in a perpetual state of fidgeting. So I'm sitting here doing this show right now, but under the screen where you can't see on the camera, I'm literally fidgeting with this pop socket. This pop socket is on my desk every day. And so every day I'm thinking about the voiceover network.
Yeah.
Think about memorable swag. If you go to a conference and look, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but when I go to Atlanta or Mavo or some of these places, 9 out of 10 times, the vast majority of the stuff that gets handed to me in that gift bag is in the hotel trash before I head to the airport. Right. And I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to offend anybody, but I can't bring it all home and I don't need it all. Right. I look through for the stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to use that. Right. Voiceover network pop socket. I'm going to use that. Somewhere on the floor close by is a VA for VO stress ball. I have several VA for VO stress balls. That's one of my other common things that I fidget with. So what is something memorable, but something useful? And so I'm thinking about, what are they going to keep on their desk? What are they going to keep in their office? What might they keep in their car if they're commuting to work every day? Right. So it's things like that. It's not something that's going to end up in the trash bin of the exhibition hall as they're making their way back to the parking lot to go home after the weekend. I also think if you can find something that you can put your voice into, that's even better. Like, those birthday cards that you open up and they start singing songs to you or whatever, like, can you get something like that, but record your own message in it? Or, I've talked to a voice actor before. You remember the Staples? I don't know if you guys have Staples.
The easy button.
But the easy button.
Yep.
Like, you can buy easy buttons.
Yeah.
And you can program easy buttons to say whatever you want to record into it. Right. So could you find something like that you could record that would have your voice or some sort of voice message in it? So that would be something else that I would be thinking about with swag. But it's just about what is something that they could use every day.
Yeah. Because when I was thinking about business cards, it is the calling card that we all have, but at a conference, that's what everybody, they're going to come away with a stack of business cards that it's going to go in a drawer, or maybe it makes it to the drawer. But like, that's your best case, is it's going in a drawer somewhere.
Yes, you're right. Which brings me to my third point, which is the importance of follow-up. You're handing out all of these business cards. And the reality is that for most people, those business cards, like you said, if they're lucky, they make it into a desk drawer, but they usually go to die somewhere and never be seen from again. Your job is to make a specific point of following up with every business card that you collect the week that you get back from the event. And so you want to send them a quick email. You want to remind them how you met, where you met. Hey, we met at the bar. Hey, we met at the exhibition hall. Hey, we met in front of so-and-so's table. You want to remind them what you talked about, so that, and this is where it's really good. This is why I like business cards that have a little bit of white space on them, because it's an opportunity for you after that conversation, jot a quick note on the business card. Right?
What did you guys talk about?
What did we talk about or whatever? I mean, now you can put it in your phone too, but make a point of doing that so that when you come home, now you've got this stack of business cards and you have all of those little notes that you can now refer to. So you can send follow-ups the week after to
Yeah.
remind them about where you were, how you met them, specifically what you talked about. And so now it's not up to them to deal with all the business cards in the drawer, or at
Yeah.
least not with your business card in the drawer, because you've made a point of it. And so now you've got these people in your CRM and you've got some sort of follow-up strategy in place. And so I think that's really important too, because we're just as guilty of it. We collect the business cards, we bring them home with the best of intentions, right? I meant to follow up with, I was going to follow up with, I had every intention of following up with. But
Yeah.
then like 3 months later, you're like, oh crap, what are these from? Oh, that's a stack of business cards from, and now you're like, well, it's too late now.
Yeah.
So I think that's something else that you need to be thinking about is what is your follow-up strategy going to look like after the fact so that you are keeping yourself top of mind while it is still relatively fresh in their mind. I'm not following up with them the next day, but sometime within that week after coming back from the conference, giving them a chance to get home, unpack, settle in, get back to work, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then going for it.
Okay. Something else that I was curious about to get your opinion on is when talking to these people at the conference, I know you want the focus to be on them. You know, you don't want to just go up and talk about yourself and, oh, hey, who are you? Here's what I do. Hire me. But how much of what you call your, I think it's the unique value proposition. So I have an IT background and, that would lend itself to certain things. Is that something that I would want to work in while talking to them there? Or is that something that I would work in while I do like a follow-up? Here's what we talked about. We met here. I checked out your company and I think my experience as an IT person, would lend itself well. I mean, is there, you don't want to monopolize their time while they're at a conference and maybe there's other people coming, so how deep into it do you want to get on that first meeting?
I think you want to try to be memorable, and one of the ways that you can try to be memorable is by demonstrating how you can help them in some way. When you've got them talking about themselves and talking a little bit about their business, talking a little bit about what they do, and that opens the door for you to say what you can do or how you can help them, how you can add value, how you can solve a problem, etc. If there's an opportunity there to slip that into the conversation, if it makes sense, then why wouldn't you, right? Because that if you're at an event where you're talking with somebody who's involved heavily in IT and you have that background and you're able to explain to them that, look, I can do the voiceover for you, but I can do it from the perspective of someone who knows it, lives it, breathes it, worked it, used it, whatever. I mean, that is part of the value proposition. So I do think where there's an opportunity, you can fit that in. And if it didn't come up naturally in the conversation, like you said, you don't want to monopolize their time, then yeah, that's something that could absolutely be included in a follow-up for sure.
Okay. And then my last question is,
Wait, what? Wasn't this always supposed to be one question?
It's all tied in.
Oh, okay. Keep going then.
How do I find these places? Because when I started to do research, I'm finding like national conferences and I can't fly around the country, to go to medical conferences and e-learning conferences. Do you have any quick suggestions on things to narrow it down to find something in your own community that you can drive to?
I think the internet or the interstate system in America is fascinating. You just go on so many road trips. Why you got to fly everywhere? Like, we can't all be J. Michael pod flying around the world, right? Like, some of us just got to get in the car. We got to go for a drive.
I'm from Detroit. I don't mind driving.
So I think there are a couple of different places. I think Facebook events can be one place where you can find some stuff.
Okay.
Eventbrite is a very popular site that a lot of people use for doing ticketing and things of that nature. So I bet that you could probably search Eventbrite in your local area or in your local region. There's a website called 10 times and it's 10. So like the number 10 times, 10times.com, which is a site that you could potentially look for. I think the other thing is paying attention to your network. So when VO Atlanta comes up, what is one of the number one pieces of content that every voice actor is sharing? That they're going to VO Atlanta.
Yeah.
Right? Or that they're speaking at VO Atlanta, or that they're excited to attend VO Atlanta. I don't think it's any different in any other industries. And so I think if you're connected with some of these people that you're ultimately hoping to get in front of, if they're attending these conferences or if they're speaking at these conferences, they're probably going to be posting about it, talking about it. And so just by having the right connections in your network and paying attention to what they're sharing, I think you're going to be able to learn about some of these things for sure. I would say on the national conference side, sometimes some of those bigger events do have smaller regional events, or they have local chapters or things of that nature. And so looking at their website to see if they're doing any local type stuff, regional type stuff. That would
Yeah.
be another way that you could potentially find out. And man, when it comes right down to it, I mean, some strategic searches on Google or ChatGPT for put in the industry and then conference 2025. So eLearning conference 2025, eLearning summit. That's a very buzzy word that a lot of people are doing. Expo would be another one, right? So eLearning Expo.
Okay.
So, but change it out. Put in whatever it is, political conference 2025, political summit 2025, commercial conference 2025, video production conference 2025. Like, so doing some of those types of searches, I think would potentially be another way that you might be able to find some of these events.
Awesome. That is incredibly helpful. There's so many places I would not have thought to look for that. So thank you.
And I think checking in with your Chamber of Commerce, it's entirely possible as well that if any of these things are coming to your area, chances are the chamber is going to know about it because they're going to want chamber to help them to promote it. So that can be an option. And then one other thing that I think could potentially work on a local level and a regional level too is, are there venues where these types of events would traditionally happen? Can you check the venue websites?
I do know of a few expo halls and venues in the area. That's a
Right.
great
So
idea.
if those are event spaces that would traditionally do something like that, they might have a list of upcoming events. And so you might be able to find out about things that way as well.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. I really appreciate it.
So what's the first one you're going to?
The first one I find in my area.
This is where we build accountability into the show. Like once you say it out loud and then it
Uh-huh.
goes out on the podcast, then you actually have to show up and do the thing because now you told everybody you were going to show up and do the thing.
Yeah, exactly. That accountability thing you keep telling me about.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how that works?
I would love to find a medical conference. I think that is my first interest.
So that would be what I would be looking for, doing searches for, medical conference, try pharmaceutical, like try some different
Yeah.
terms, right? Medical technology, maybe if that's what you're leaning into more of. So try some of those different types of searches and see what you can come up with.
Great. And I will let you know.
Sounds good. All right, Cameron, thanks so much for coming on the show. Great question.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.